Everybody, Bobby Fire, Sheet Saber. We're going to be talking through tonight's massive MLB slate. We thought we did a show this morning. I think I'm sort of sticking to the general idea that I had, and I'm curious to see what maybe you've come up with. And I mean, the only real news of the day so far, I guess, is that we don't really still have an answer on the weather in that game, the Kansas City game.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm gonna end up fading that game, but I wanna talk about we have a cushion going into tonight.
What happened? We got something
We have
going?
a cushion because we won the 555 in soccer for 5,000.
Let's go!
Yep.
Love it.
By a grand total of 0.36 points. Got a save literally at the you don't call it the buzzer in soccer, but as close as you can get. I was like one save away, and it literally got a save in like the last possession of extra time to get to win by 0.2. So we've got a nice little cushion going into tonight, and ready to see if we can't screw it up.
Love it.
So again, full disclosure: if I were around, I would honestly wait to see a little bit more on that Kansas City game, and not just give up on it. Just because I do think that you could play people from that game, but because I am going out, it's just not worth it for me. So to play it, so I'm just going to exit out. So I am Xing out Kansas City, Tampa, and that's the first thing. Second, what are you doing with that game? Obviously, you don't have to do anything, but
I think I have like one lineup with the pieces of it, but like not anything real, just like I'm okay with taking one shot, you know what I mean? But like, I don't really care that much because I think if it does play, it's going to be owned enough, especially by everybody who like max enters everything. So I don't think you're gaining an edge unless you just decide not to play it anyway. Because I actually think if the weather is good, it's going to make people feel more compelled to play it because it projects well. I don't think there's so many good spots tonight to go for. I don't think you need to stick with that one. So that's why I'm okay just, basically Xing it. I do have it X'd except for I got it in one lineup. Like with Singer, by the way, just to get even weirder. But I like I still like the Yankees a lot. I like Philadelphia, Chicago is my favorite game. I have a lot more Yankees on DraftKings because the pricing was easier. But I have all the Philly, Chicago, and the Dodgers on FanDuel, and Yankees with pieces from Detroit, Colorado, as my main other things. And we got people asking in chat already about what about Cam's asking about what about Richardson, Simeon Richardson. Like, yeah, if you want to take a low owned play, I think he'd be in the conversation of guys you'd consider, or a cheap play. But I think that I'd rather play Spence or Soriano than I would. And I think Soriano is going to be really low owned. So I just would rather play those guys. They have a little more strikeout upside, I think. And I'm doing what I said. I'm gonna play 20% Bobby Miller on DraftKings. Like I don't care. I'm just gonna be the early one on the long game. I think he's that other low price that has the upside because he's the kind of guy who could literally go out and strike out 5 of the first 6 or something. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. So, that's what. So, but the main guys are still Kirby, Rodriguez, and Gill for me. I like Rodriguez the best on FanDuel along with Gill, and I like Kirby and Rodriguez as the best on DraftKings. I will throw in some Dylan Cease though, just because the upside on DraftKings.
Yeah, so I'll just go over what I'm doing. So on DraftKings, really nothing. Well, it's really funny. There was a guy that I had a feeling was going to get a little more steam, and I ended up playing him probably more than I should. So we'll get to that in a second. I currently have 50% of Lewis Gill. God help me. Coming off 2 straight negatives. Is that what it is? Yeah. Whatever. And then I have about 30% of the other 3 big guys. Kirby, Cease, and Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. And then the guy I have that's saving salary that I think is going to end up getting steamed a little more would be Mitch Spence.
I agree.
I currently have 25% of him. I'm afraid that's not even going to be that much higher than the field.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit higher, but I agree that that's probably the range you're looking at. It's possible that it could get up to 30, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I thought that Soriano was going to be the one to get a little more steam than that, but I guess, but he's not really coming in. I think people. I don't know why people play Spence more. I mean, Soriano's got the easier matchup.
They may. I heard somebody say they may use an opener. No, he's starting. No, they're not. He's starting as official. I heard that earlier in the day, and I was like, I wanted to keep an eye out, but they're not. Go ahead.
Oh, so and then in the hitting on DraftKings, I'm actually really chalky right now. Well, it depends on who's going to be popular, but I'm really heavy on that Milwaukee game. Both sides of that. The next group I have is Atlanta and actually Toronto. I do have some Yankees, but pretty much with the field. I currently am rolling with the Tigers 5-man stack in my 888. Right now.
Tigers, let's go.
Yeah.
I have that was my sneaky team today.
Yeah, right now. I'm not getting too much in lottery, but for whatever reason, I'm getting that in 888. I'm kind of down with it because I don't know if people really have it in them to do it. So I think they'll end up being pretty low owned. I think, especially the 5-man, because who in their right mind would do that? When you got the Yankees, Dodgers, Braves, and Coors,
Yeah.
So that's what I have going on DraftKings. And again, for disclosure, I'm playing 20 of the lottery again, because I'm not really around, so you can't really manage like all the late swaps with like all that stuff, and I just rather not subject myself to that. So I'm playing 20 of that, and I'm playing the big one and the 250 and the single entry. Mm-hmm. On FanDuel, I'm playing again about 20 of the lottery, and then I'm playing 3 entries of that 222.
Yeah.
And over there, pitching wise, not too different. I mean, Gill and Cease would be my top guys, and then Kirby, Rodriguez. Wow, check this out. Of 20, how many total lineups do I have? Like 30 total lineups. I got 3 lineups with the Hayden Bird song on FanDuel, of all things.
Oh yeah, because he's 6K.
Yeah, so I imagine I know what the rest of that lineup is going to look like.
I don't think it's absurd, by the way. I don't think there's this isn't exactly the Braves like A++ lineup.
Yeah. I'm getting like those lineups with like just all of the Dodgers that you can eat, Mm-hmm. As far as the hitting over there, once again, I'd like to say that I'm off the board, but I'm really not. Colorado, Dodgers, Milwaukee, Yankees, Cubs, you know what I mean? Like Toronto. So nothing really earth-shattering for me tonight. And for those of you that watch the 12 o'clock thing or whatever, I'm not forcing in the Eovaldi, despite my protestations to the contrary. I'm just going to roll with what I have. It's definitely a chalkier portfolio than I've been playing. I'm just kind of happy with it. I mean, that's the best I can describe it. The fact that I have the Tigers like rolling for the most money makes me feel okay. You know what I mean? With getting a little chalky elsewhere. So that's kind of what my portfolio is looking like tonight.
That makes a lot of sense. It's going to be interesting to see because I think that, and I wanted to touch on a question we got while you were going to just about Soriano possibly being on a pitch count because he's coming off the IL. It was a very short stint, and it was because of an infection in his stomach. And I'm not worried as much that I don't think they would let him come back unless he was going to throw like 85 plus pitches. That's just not my guess. He's projected to throw only 75, which is why the projection systems hate him. I think that there's an excellent chance that he throws over 80 pitches if it's going well. So I wanted to throw that out there. Not that that's a ton, but he is cheaper, and that's why I like him. But I'm okay with the Woods Richardson thing if you want to take that angle. I think I could see both arguments. I could see playing some of the Detroit guys because they're so cheap, and I could see playing some Woods Richardson because Detroit's missing, 2 of their best hitters. So I like both sides of that a little bit.
So I'm gonna, again to teach a little bit. I'm gonna do a couple of SaberSim builds. I'll just use the SaberSim projections. I'm not going to use ours. I'll build 5,000 lineup set, and then pretend I'm playing 50 in both DraftKings and FanDuel. And again, just to show you, how you could use SaberSim and actually apply it to this slate. Again, the first thing I do, and you could answer other questions along the way. I just figured it was we were pretty straightforward with what we're doing. Figure we do a little teaching maybe. So the first thing I would say is that I don't change anything from SaberSim with respect to the first set of 5,000 I build. Now I know people that do that. That will go a little bit more random or a little less random and mess around with the algorithm a little bit. I'm just not good enough. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel I add enough to that process by doing that. I could tweak stuff after the fact, but just to figure out again, we're just talking about the 5,000 lineups that we're choosing from. And here's another thing that
I gotta close the door. I'm so sorry. I don't know why the gardener got the beer right today. It's driving me nuts. Sorry about that.
What's up?
All right, sorry. What were you saying, Chiefs?
I don't remember what you last heard.
I'm sorry. No, I can hear things. It was just fuzzy because it was they're like right outside.
Anyway, so here's the first 5,000 that we built. Now, again, what you're looking at here is like not sim adjusted or anything like that. So just to show you a couple of things that it would look like. So like let's say you want to look at team stacks, for example. Like right now, you'd be getting of this lineup, you'd be getting 74% Angels. Okay. But the thing is, what you want to look at also is this pool exposure. So over the 5,000 lineups, if I was going to play all 5,000, which I wouldn't, right? I would only get 12% Angels. It actually likes the Phillies. I would like the Phillies the most. 22% Phillies, followed by the teams we talked about: Colorado, Milwaukee, Chicago, Atlanta. For some reason, when you just rate the top 50, the Angels just kind of show up. Okay. Now, if you ever really wanted to get involved with how this ranking works, like you can go into the eyeball here under large slate, and it'll actually go over the formula that it uses to calculate the lineups. Like if you wanted to get into the weeds there. So one thing you'll notice is that one of the addition factors here is it's 0.7 times the 99th percentile of the lineup. So that is pretty aggressive. Okay. Yeah. And then when it says you take out 0.6 times the average adjusted ownership, that's pretty aggressive too. So you're already starting with a pretty aggressive approach. Okay. So like if you wanted to, you could, if you're playing 50 lineups, just cram, 74% Angels. And that's, that does fly in the face of like normal theory though. You don't really want to have more than some percent, right, of stacks. But what I like to talk about, Bobby, maybe you could chime in here, is one of the things that SaberSim challenges people to do, and the Sims and whatever, is to resolve this dilemma. So you go into building lineups with this bias or this idea of what lineups are supposed to look like or what a portfolio is supposed to look like. So here's a question: is SaberSim best used to help you get what you want, or is SaberSim better used to, like to quote the Rolling Stones, like to get what you need? You know what I mean? Like do you use like the SaberSim and the Sims to like replace like your biases or replace what you think, or do you use it to kind of help you get what you want? And what the reality is that if you're going to use the former, in other words, if you want to say, okay, I don't want to have more than 30% of a team, I don't want to, have anything but 5-man stacks, I don't want to do whatever, and you run SaberSim, you will make tweaks along the way to get what you want. I mean, if you tweak this thing enough, you will get the type of lineups that you want. And the question is that what you want to use it for? You know what I mean? I think that people, and it's a very legitimate question, because I know like you, for example, people that have been doing this for like a long time, know what lineups are supposed to look like,
Right.
and you'll run a SaberSim thing and say, I don't care what SaberSim says. I'm not playing 74% Angels. You know what I mean? Like I'm not playing 74% anybody. Right. So that approach is knowing kind of instinctively what you want, and hopefully either SaberSim confirms that, or it will, you can tweak it to get what you want. I don't know. I think it's a philosophical question.
It's an interesting conversation, but I think you tweak it. Like for me, I tweak it to get what I want. I would never, ever, 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 ever just trust a thing that I don't.
Yeah.
That's just not the way what I do. Well, no, that's not that I wouldn't do it. But even when I did like the Brandon's NASCAR thing to try to test it around for that stuff, I was still inputting things he was saying. I didn't want it to give me what they were giving me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And trying to get a minimum percentage of XYZ. I took his 8 favorite guys and whatever, was trying to get at least 40% of those guys or something like that. So you really can use it both ways. Of course, like you always say, SaberSim will get mad if you do that. It does. But it'll give you a closer percentage. And I use it for golf that way a lot. I do try to get my ownerships that I want on each player. And I don't really let it just give me things very often. I bet, especially in golf, because you're sort of like considering everybody, especially for the majors where there's like 80 players out of, whatever. So you have to sort of consider everybody. I'd rather just get to the percentages I want. So it is a good tool that way, but you have to, sort through certain things. On a smaller slate, I would still go lower variation on the lower correlation than they would. That's something that I just don't think you need to be as correlated on those small slates. Things like that, you know what I mean? But that's just me personally. You've done it much more successfly than I have especially at this part of it, the mass entry stuff and things like that. But I do think there's ways to use it both ways. I don't think you should just always sit and give what it gives you, but you're also using your own projections and you're doing different things and running different ways of doing it. Yeah. So you're adding your own spice on it. It's not going to get the same thing that everybody else is going to get.
So like, for example, like if you start with a build like this, right? And you want to use SaberSim, you want to access, whatever, you like the projections, but you don't like this. So what you could do is you could, just literally just put max exposure of say 30% of the top team, and then just keep scrolling down. Like it might replace it with like 30% of 70% of something else, but you can see. So you put 30%, say max there, and then there you go. So now you have you don't have more than 30% of any team. So that's a way to use SaberSim, to get most of what they recommend, but that you're still within the ball game. The other thing you could do, which I talk about a lot, let's get back to the regular build, the 70% or 80% Angels, whatever. Another thing you could do is you could try to mess with the min uniques a little bit and see what that does for you. So instead of making min uniques 1, where basically most of your lineups look like each other to some degree, you make min uniques like something else, like min uniques 3, and you see if that kind of crunches these stacks a little bit. Really didn't do too good of a job of that. You're still getting the 72% Angels. Okay. So if you're going to use SaberSim, you like the projections, right? But you don't like the distribution of lineups. That's one thing to do, is just literally just force in, a 30% maximum. And what's cool about it is because you built 5,000 lineups, you don't have to rebuild. It's within the 5,000 somewhere. And I'll tell you this, if it's not within the 5,000 somewhere, you don't want it anyway. Okay. So that's one thing you can do. So the other thing I want to do is run this contest sim and see what that does for you. So again, the first thing you have to do is decide what field you're going to presume that the field plays. Okay. So you could either just run your custom builds with, what you've already run, like those 5,000 lineups, or you could run their kind of, their stock, fields, which they say they do a pretty good job of it. So let's put those in. We'll just put in the flagship MME for all 4 of them. And the reason why I'm doing this again is let's make this one high stakes single entry, because you know that, and then we'll hit run contest sim. And again, what we're trying to accomplish here is, again, to get like a portfolio of lineups that at least resembles something that you want. Mm-hmm. This way you're using the system, you're using the math behind it, even though if you don't understand it completely, and at least and at least give you a portfolio of stuff that you might like. So again, what we're doing here is using all the tools at our disposal in the SaberSim, and we're not stopping until we get something that we like. Okay. So let's do all right, let's not do the mega eights. Let's just do the whatchamacallit. We were going to do the lottery anyway. So we'll do the lottery, bat flip, risk adjusted ROI. So now what we're getting, totally different group. And now it looks a lot different. It's getting 40% Baltimore, okay, which is fully leveraged against Seattle. And this kind of flies in the face of two things that you don't want. I'm pretty sure that you don't want to, overstack Baltimore against. Oh, maybe you do, right? Against Kirby, but at the very least, I don't think you're going to want 40% of them.
Right.
So again, same thing. Let's go back to Min Uniques 1 and see what it looks like. Min Uniques 1, then you're at 48%.
Do you mind going to the 3 stacks and the 2 stacks? I'm just curious if they give you all Colorado, if this is what you're doing. You think so, right?
So right now, I'm getting no Colorado.
Of any stacks.
I'm getting like 8% Colorado, and then like 10% Chicago, and I think 0 Milwaukee, like 4% Milwaukee. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to show you what stacks you'd be getting, here's another thing you could do. We'll look at, first of all, just stack exposure for openers and see what you're getting. And you can decide whether to X out the 4 threes. Listen, on a 12-game slate, I don't think I need 4 threes. Okay. So let's X out the 4 threes and the 4 2-2s. We'll keep the 5 zeros. And just I kind of have an affinity to the 4 4s. So we'll keep those in also. And then you can kind of like look into this and see what, where these work. So of this build of the 5-man stacks, 34% of all of your lineups are 5-man stacks of the Orioles. And then when you look at it again, you look deep into it. If you look at pool exposure, it's actually you'd be getting more Phillies. Okay. Yeah. So one thing you could do, like if you thought you should get a little more Phillies, is just at least match the field with some of these, like so not even match the field, like match your pool exposure. So you could make like minimum 13%, for example, of the Phillies. Okay. So these are things that you could do to kind of, to screw around, to make sure that you get, at least what resembles, what you would want. And here, when you did that, lineup exposure, you're still at 34% Baltimore though. So again, and if you didn't like that, if you didn't like all that Baltimore, again, you can go back to your manually reducing it. Again, you max exposure. And I only want 12% Baltimore. Okay, so I would probably try to match the field at least. So you should have at least 6% because that's what the pool is. So let's just say you double the field because, and this is what goes through my head. I'm like, wow, SaberSim really liked it. Maybe I should double the field at least. So maybe I make 12% then. And what's interesting is that now the top stacks are Philly, Tampa because they didn't X them out, and we're back to the Angels again. So it's kind of interesting that no matter what you do, but in a lot of different build scenarios, you're getting to the Angels. Mm-hmm. And so again, like this is not meant to tell you guys who to play on the slate, but this is exactly like what I do, to analyze like what I might play. Like I'm kind of like Bobby's like 90%, what he wants, and then 10% what SaberSim kind of organizes. I'm like kind of the opposite. I'm more like 90% what SaberSim organizes, and 10% of the time I'll just kind of insert my take on top of it.
Yeah, I don't even explain. I mean, in general, to be honest, with baseball, I almost never, unless I'm going to do like a $3 thing that day and max enter, I almost never export anything from SaberSim. I never would for less than like 50 lineups or just something like that.
Right, right.
And I do it for golf if I'm playing the 150, the $5. That's where I do it the most.
Yeah,
but I like seeing what it gives me. I like seeing what builds. What if you do this, and this, and then it gives me the different lineups that they would tell you to play in the 888 that I could also decide what I want to do with the 250, and I like seeing where it's at, and I do tend to use it as like a good reference point for making sure I'm getting what I wanted though as the main thing.
And I'll tell you, there are a lot of, I mean, I hesitate to say this, but I'm pretty sure that if you had to rank the top 20 MLB DFS players, I would say that I'm just really guessing because I don't know them all. I would say of those 20, maybe 5 use the Sims. You know what I mean? I bet you that like an overwhelming majority like do their own stuff, and just you know, and the classic example is Utical, and he's been very, very vocal about it. Listen, my projections are my Sims. I know more about this stuff than everybody else, and I'm willing to gamble on that. And he's only made like $400 million playing that way. So what the hell do I know? And there's a lot of guys like that. And Sims do like give you shortcuts. If you don't do all that internal research, that's the other thing. And again, the person will probably put all of it together is the person that's going to win all the money. But don't get intimidated if like this stuff makes no sense to you, because you don't have to play this way. You really don't have to. You don't have to use the Sims at all. You could just do your own research and put a 5-man stack of what you like, and you could also just use like a set of projections and do it. Like for example, let's do I don't know. Let's if you looked at DK, even if you just looked at my stack rankings here, you rank them this way and say, okay, Milwaukee and Tampa look like the top 2 rated this way. And then there's Yankees and Colorado. We're not playing Tampa because of whatever. So Milwaukee, Yankees, and Colorado look the best. Yankees might be a little lower owned. And so maybe I'll just play them, and then I could check the raw stack numbers and see if it matches. Yeah, Milwaukee looks pretty good. So Milwaukee and Yankees, and then you might think, well, maybe that's a little bit too chalky. So I don't know, take a look at the pitchers a little bit. So here's whatever. You have all 4 of these guys look pretty similar. You could go down to Scooble maybe, if you want to do that, I still have this Mitch Pence at 11% owned. I still don't. I'm not buying it. And the Soriano even 11%. I mean, you can make a case, Bobby, to just play both these guys.
I think Soriano's 11%.
What did you think?
Soriano's going to be like 4% or 1%.
I thought it was going to be like 20.
Really? He's coming back from the thing, and when the projections updated, they updated his pitch count down to like 75.
Oh, so maybe this is why. Okay.
So I think that it's a wild cardy play, but it's one that I embrace. I like it. Actually.
I mean, you could play on this slate. You could play Spence and Soriano together, and then do what you want. You got to be right.
That's the right strategy for this slate. Like, while I don't love any of the pitchers except for Rodriguez's matchup at the top, I mean they're fine, like whatever, but none of them is like, the thing that scares me is that one of them or 2 of them are going to have a huge game, I think.
You think so? I don't think it's necessarily the case.
I don't think it has to be, but I do think somebody's going to have a big game tonight.
I'll tell you the other team that I'm very surprised I'm not getting to.
Who?
Is the freaking Reds.
That's interesting.
I mean, what, you know what I mean? Like I was getting all these other nonsense. I was getting to Baltimore against Chalky Kirby, right?
Right.
Getting to the, you know what I mean? Getting to the Angels against maybe Spence or whatever. Why? I mean, Gil has negative fantasy points his last 2 games. I mean, if Cincinnati scores 6 in the first inning, and then Gil goes on the freaking DL, who's anybody surprised? You know what I mean? Like,
that's a great point. If it was a smaller slate, I think I would just lock in on a take like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Exactly.
No, I'm serious because you're looking for any reason on those smaller slates to get just super different, and you're going to have a 90% owned guy, like I said, it was a 4-gamer or something. You could just easily stack them up and feel good.
But it's like one of those things where you visualize like the future, and you visualize like tomorrow morning when you're like,
right,
when everybody's like, even if they didn't fade him, they'd be like, well, this is such an easy fade. How can you play a popular guy who has negative fantasy points his last 2 games?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm a little surprised I'm not getting more of it. I'm not going to force it in, but is this bad content for me to say? Just, don't play them, but don't be surprised if they smash. Like, probably.
No. I mean,
it's true though. I mean, you should always look at the opponent of the top owned guy, and I mean, quite honestly, I mean, you tell me, but is Gil a better pitcher than any of these guys?
It's hard to know that right now with him.
I guess.
It's tough to say, to be honest. The thing is, though, but you don't love the matchup for Cease, who's more talented probably right now.
No, I just mean like a better pitcher.
School's the best pitcher on this slate, probably.
Right. I mean,
And Grayson Rodriguez is probably about to be right there. And by the way, it wouldn't surprise me if in a year George Kirby was the best pitcher of all these guys.
Right.
So I don't know. It's what I was saying. It's a good pitching slate with very little matchups that you like. Scooble, literally the nut low matchup for lefties. Basically that's Minnesota. They crush lefties for as long as I can remember.
Any chance Kepler plays tonight? That'd be so nice.
Is he in there? I don't think so.
There's no way to let him play.
No, he's not in there.
I mean, then I would get my 4 strikeouts as a floor. I mean,
they don't even have a lefty in the lineup. I mean, that's rough. I don't know how many times we've had it recently. I don't remember seeing any where there's been 0.
Right.
That's wild. They're an interesting team to me. I just think that they manage everything like it's the playoffs,
I'll tell you who's getting all kinds of ownership. This is Garrett Mitchell from Milwaukee. He's 3K. He's like the only cheap guy in that whole lineup, I think. Actually, I'm looking at FanDuel. Sorry about that. But I think he's getting pretty owned on in DraftKings too. When I last looked at my DraftKings ownership, I think I had like 40% of him for some reason.
Yeah. Wow.
What's his price?
3,900.
Okay.
It makes sense. He's batting 5th. I'm interested to see how truly low owned these teams are. I know that they're still projected to be higher owned than they were to start the day and everything, but I really don't buy that no player of theirs is going to be above 12%. I just think that like in the 250, I know that in Colorado and Milwaukee will each be like 25% off. I know that.
Right.
They've been in the 121. But in general, you're telling me you really think they're going to be like in the lottery, they're going to be 10%, 12% of each player. Like basically that's where they've got them. And I don't think so, man. I think that Mitchell is going to end up 30% owned, just like you've got him there, 30% of them.
Just so you know, also there's a guy hitting. He's hitting 9th. Okay, there's a 2K guy on the Rangers.
On the Tigers too. There's Creedler.
The Rangers, a guy hitting 9th. This Jonathan Ornelas.
I mentioned the Creedler thing because I'm playing that shortstop for Detroit because he's 2K. So
Creedler, is that him?
Yeah.
KR. Yeah, Ryan Creedler. Yeah. He's hitting 9th as well.
Yeah, that whole the Tigers lineup has got to be one of the cheapest I've ever seen. It's pretty wild actually. You have to go out of your way. There's the one bat, right? There's Riley, I think Riley Green. Let me see. Yeah, let's see if I got Wenzel's 36, Canna's 37, 2.5, 2.6.
Urshel is 29.
Urshela's 29 batting cleanup.
Yeah.
Keith is 3K. I mean, there's a reason for this, but
you watch, they'll be freaking all 20% owned at the end of the day.
I think people are I don't think they're gonna have to stack. I think they're gonna do what I did, which is make them the 3-mans.
Yeah,
that's what I've used them for. Like you play Malloy or Baду. Has there been anybody who's made anyone more money who's been less successful than Akil Baду? It felt like for a while, every screenshot had Akil Badu in it a couple years ago. And now
I'll tell you this. In my 5-man Detroit stack, there is no Baду. How about that?
No, I wouldn't have thought there was.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're going to play Malloy over him.
Yeah, that's true.
Because at least we already know the devil that Badu is.
I can't believe I'm playing the Luis Gil or Jill or Yehil.
This is where I feel uncomfortable with it a little bit myself. I don't know why am I playing him in my other one? I'm gonna do it because it's like I have no exposure to him elsewhere really, but I'm leaving him in one of my 222s. I'm only playing 2 of them.
Boy, oh boy, I'm not even gonna be able to swap. I'm gonna be on the road. I'm trying to think of of whether I end up swapping to what? Oh, the one's a Baltimore game that starts early too. No. Oh, Baltimore's 9:40. I wonder if at the last minute I do something where I play Eovaldi or something like that. Somebody take my mouse away.
Do it. Maybe it's the right thing.
Well, I'm trying to think of what happens in this Yankee game. It's at 7:00. Ugh. Has Gil done anything? All right, forget those other 2. Yeah, he's got some good games. Okay.
Let me see something.
He had 14 strikeouts in the game.
No, I know he's got stuff. That's what happens with him.
Against the White Sox at home, but
yeah, but he's really got stuff though.
Yeah, all right, fine.
But again, by the way, when it's like Cincinnati's been like, I mean, I don't know, they're not bad either. Like,
no,
that lineup is it's not too bad.
I'm afraid to look. I'm just afraid to look. Good. I'll be on the road. Well, I'm not going to turn it on.
Where are you going?
Oh, nothing. I'm going back to the Hamptons tonight.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be working out of the office out east tomorrow.
Beautiful. I'm not expecting that I'll be here, but if I am, I will let you guys know as soon as I.
Okay, so listen. So this is what my schedule probably is tomorrow. If you want to join me, well, let me just take a look at the baseball schedule first. So baseball tomorrow. Oh wow! Oh no! Oh my God! Oh no! Tomorrow is 7-3. Tomorrow 7-3. Yeah. Oh wow! Very okay. Nothing in the afternoon. Nothing early. So I'm gonna do the preview at about 12, and then I'm gonna do golf at 1. So if you want to, if there's
any way for me to do it, I'm going to try to make it. I'm saying I'm 90%, or 80%. I'm 20% going to be there, just so you know.
Okay.
But do whatever your thing your way, and I'll just try to make it.
Okay.
Try to sneak away. Rody posted his lineup in the Discord. I like that lineup that Rody posted. Yeah, so I guess we don't have a whole lot else to go over. I'm looking to see if there's a weather update that helps us out. I don't have anything. Anyway, guys, thanks for everything. Sheets, is there anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think we're good. Good luck, everybody, and I'll